Space is supposed to be empty, but in the high orbit of Krios 9, it's a meat grinder made of warped light and crushed physics. We aren't fighting a traditional army. We are fighting the Void Hunters, a species that doesn't understand the concept of a fair fight. They don't use lasers. They don't use plasma. They use mass. Specifically, they use stabilized micro-singularities, tiny, artificial black holes the size of a marble, fired from orbital platforms at a fraction of the speed of light. They don't need to hit you to kill you. If one of those rounds passes within 10 meters of your suit, the gravitational shear will peel the armor off your frame like tinfoil. If it hits your ship, the entire vessel is turned inside out, swallowed by a pocket of infinite density before the reactor can even register a breach. We call them the gravity snipers, and for the first 6 months of the war they owned the stars. They sat in the silent, dark corners of the debris belts, picking off our carriers from ranges we couldn't even calculate. You'd be cruising in high atmo and suddenly the bridge of your ship would just vanish. No explosion. No fire. Just a hole in reality where your commanding officer used to be. But humanity didn't get to the stars by following the rules of physics. We got there by breaking them. We created the 101st Void Drifters. We are the weightless paratroopers, and we are the only things fast enough and crazy enough to hunt the hunters. We don't use ships. They're too big, too much of a gravitational target. We use the Valkyrie 7 vacuum rig. It's a sleek, high-mobility harness stripped of all non-essential life support, powered by twin-ion thrusters and equipped with GravSurfer fin dampeners. We don't fight gravity, we ride it. We treat the snipers' black hole rounds like waves in an ocean, using the gravitational distortions they create to slingshot ourselves across the void at speeds that would liquefy a normal pilot. I am Lieutenant Jax Apex Miller, and today we are going to kick the door down on the sniper's nest. The mission was a high-velocity boarding action. We dropped from the belly of the stealth carrier Horizon's Edge at the edge of the Krios 9 exosphere. There was no sound, only the sudden, crushing silence of the vacuum and the violent ignition of our ion packs. My HUD flickered to life, showing a 360-degree tactical sphere. The stars weren't points of light anymore, they were distorted streaks. The snipers were active. Drifters, sound off. Keep your dampeners synced. If you feel a tug on your suit, you're already in the well. Burn hard or get spaghettified, I ordered, my voice echoing in the small, oxygen-rich environment of my helmet. Vane green. Thrusters at 110%. I see the ripples cap. Their lead firing. Sarah, green. Ion rails hot. Let's show these ghosts what a kinetic slug feels like. The first shot came from the dark side of a passing moonlet. My HUD screamed a warning, gravitational anomaly detected. Vector, 049. I didn't see the round, but I saw the space around it. The starlight behind the projectile warped into a perfect, shimmering ring, a gravitational lens. It was beautiful. It was lethal. The micro-singularity roared past us, silent and invisible, but the wake it left behind was a tidal wave of space-time distortion. Surf it, I roared. I tilted my suit's fins, catching the edge of the gravitational ripple. The sheer force of the pull nearly snapped my neck, but my suit's compensators kicked in, and suddenly I was accelerating. My velocity doubled, then tripled. I wasn't just flying, I was being pulled through the vacuum at 3,000 kilometers per hour. I looked to my left and saw Sarah and Vane doing the same, our cyan-ion trails carving long, elegant curves through the dark. We were using the enemy's own ammunition to reach them. The snipers realized we weren't dying like the ships did. They adjusted. The sniping stopped being a series of single shots and turned into a singularity carpet bombing. Dozens of black hole rounds began to fill the sector, creating a chaotic, churning mess of overlapping gravity wells. It was like trying to navigate a hurricane in a paper boat. Drifters split formation. They're trying to pin us in a collapse zone. I pulled a high G turn, my thrusters screaming as they fought to break me out of a converging well. Space was folding in on itself. I saw a piece of orbital debris, a defunct satellite, get caught in one of the rounds. It didn't explode, it was stretched out into a mile-long thread of molten metal before being compressed into a dot and vanishing. I'm targeted. They've got a lock on my thruster signature. Vane yelled. I looked over and saw space-time bending around him. 3 rings of light were closing in. He was being hunted by a coordinated trio of snipers. Sarah hit the moonlet. Give them something else to look at, I commanded. Sarah didn't miss. She raised her ion rail carbine, a weapon that fired a tungsten spike at a fraction of the speed of light. She didn't aim for the snipers, she aimed for the surface of the moonlet they were hiding on. Cable. The kinetic impact was so massive it shattered the moonlet's crust, sending millions of tons of rock and dust into the orbit. For a moment, the gravity snipers lost their clear line of sight. Their sensors, designed to track gravitational ripples, were overwhelmed by the sudden cloud of high-density debris. The lock on Vane broke. He fired his emergency boosters, slingshotting out of the death trap just as the three singularities collided behind him, creating a localized gravity burst that sent a shockwave through the vacuum. We're in the blind spot. Burn everything. We dove into the debris cloud, using the floating rocks as shields. We were close now. The sniper platforms were visible, sleek, obsidian structures shaped like needles pulsing with dark energy. They had no windows, no visible thrusters. They were ghosts of the void. I closed the distance on the lead platform. The alien sensors finally found me through the dust, and the needles began to pivot. A micro-singularity fired point blank. I didn't dodge. I couldn't. I engaged my inversion pulse. The device on my chest plate released a microsecond burst of negative mass. It wasn't enough to stop the black hole, but it was enough to bounce off the event horizon. I felt the universe tilt as the two forces clashed. My suit shrieked, every warning light on my HUD turning red, but I was propelled forward like a cannonball. I slammed into the side of the obsidian platform, my magnetic boots locking on. I didn't wait. I pulled a core breaker charge, a device filled with compressed antimatter, and jammed it into the emitter port of the sniper platform. "See you in the well," I growled. I kicked off, my thrusters firing at maximum capacity to get me clear of the blast radius. Sarah and Vane were right behind me, their own targets already beginning to implode as their charges detonated. The explosion wasn't fire. It was a collapse. The antimatter charges neutralized the stabilized singularities inside the platforms, causing them to lose cohesion. The obsidian needles didn't break. They were sucked into themselves, disappearing into the very holes they had created. The silence returned to Creos 9. The distorted rings of light faded as the gravity wells dissipated. The stars stopped stretching. The universe returned to its proper shape. We floated in the dark, three tiny humans in the vast, cold void. My HUD showed 3 neutralized markers where the sniper nest had been. "Status," I panted, watching the cyan glow of my thrusters flicker. "Sarah, clear. I need a new rail core, but I'm whole." "Vane, clear. My suit is dented, and I think I'm 3 inches taller than I was 10 minutes ago, but I'm good." I looked down at the planet below. It was beautiful, peaceful, and still there. We had done it. We had fought the masters of gravity with nothing but our own guts and a few ion engines. Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the Extinction War. You can weaponize the laws of the universe. You can try to crush us with the weight of stars. You can hide in the dark and fire the very essence of nothingness at us. But we are the species that learned to walk on the moon and sail across the sun. We don't fear the void. We surf it. We are the void drifters, and as long as there is a star to guide us, we will hunt you to the ends of reality. The gravity snipers are gone. The orbit is ours. We are going home. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The void is deep, but our reach is longer. If you enjoyed this 0G battle against the masters of mass, smash that like button and check your thruster fuel. Comment below. Would you dare to surf a black hole if it meant saving your planet? The war goes on, but today we fly free.